If your Boolean split worked really well, then when you select one of these items, okay, apparently it goes back to group again. It's kind of funky. I mean, I don't understand it, but you'll have to play with it a bit. So let's ungroup them and I'll show you what's going on in there. So now you can see what's going on is a bit complicated because there is one piece that doesn't have the notches cut out, and then there's another one that does. So if we look at that front row, it's got all the notches cut out, and if we ungroup this one, same thing, we can select it, and the second one is, it's got all the notches cut out. Those are the pieces that we want to laser cut. The other ones we don't need. So you could get rid of them if you want, delete them. You just have to keep it clear because every piece at this point that we're going to select is going to be the piece that has the notches cut out on them. So what I did here was I selected every, on the y-axis, sorry, on the x-axis, I selected each of the notched pieces. And what you can do is you can copy all of them to a colored layer. So I did this already. So if you look at the red, the y-axis has like a, it has a green line. Okay, so to remember that all the Y pieces are green, you know, like Y is green, we can turn it on. So if we copy to a layer, here I made a layer called Y, and here I made a layer called X. I did that before the demo, right? So the command for that is copy to layer. You just type copy to layer in there and you'll get the layer that you want to copy it to. Okay, and what it'll look like is something like this. So I made all of these Y pieces green. Okay, now to export these, we want to get all these pieces exported into Illustrator as an Illustrator file, right? So what I did, this is where it gets a bit time consuming and tricky, and I've got a lot of pieces in my demo. You probably won't have this many pieces because it's way too complicated. But all that's happening here is I just raise them up. I just select, and you have to keep everything in order so that the trick now is all these pieces are going to be cut. But how do we know which piece, like to get them back together when they're cut out of plywood, it's really tricky. So we're going to label them and the laser cutter is going to label them. But to keep it all straight, you need to start out at this point and you're just selecting each piece and moving it up in order. And so the first piece goes up here, the second piece, third piece, etc. And to do that, you have to make sure that you're in a two-dimensional view. So in the right view here, viewed from the right, when I export this, these are all going to be, they're not going to be distorted because if you export them from the perspective window, the lines will distort for the perspective, okay? And then the next thing we're going to look at, like basically just so everybody's clear, like I grabbed the first one, that's Y1. The second one in that row, Y2. So they're all basically on one dimension. So when you look at this from the top, from the side, it doesn't matter that they're spaced out because you're just like selecting one, right? And you use the option key and you go, sorry. You want to go up, okay. So the main thing here is that when you're in a two-dimensional window, that they all line up and you're getting exactly what you want, okay. And if we look at the X one is red, okay? So if we look at what's happening on the X plane, it's exactly the same thing. So in the front view, on the X axis, which is the red line, same thing. They're all ordered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Or 13, I should say. No, 12. Yeah, that's right. Okay. So the next video, I'll explain how to put labels on that laser cut really nicely.